Hello and welcome down the vent. My name's Joe, and today we're taking a look at the memory-based game where you need to feel your way through a forest and find your way to safety. It's Nyctophobia from Pandasuarus Games. Wait, why'd the lights go out? What's going on? Oh, okay. It's fine now. No! Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at how to play Nyctophobia. Here we have the board set up for 3 players right now. The hunter will actually set up the board after the 2 hunted players have put their glasses on, the blackout glasses that come with the game right here. So they'll put the trees all out, and the people will have no idea what the board looks like beforehand. But their goal, the hunter's goal, is to find this car on the board, and it's rigid, like it feels different than anything else that's out there. So on their turn, the hunted will go first. They can search before they move and after they move, and the search is just feeling to your left, right, up, and down. So you're north, east, south, and west. North, east, south, and west. There you go. So this player here, the cross, can only go north, so they're going to move like this, and then they can feel again just to see what their surroundings look like, and they can talk to the other players as well. So if I was the cross player here, I would say, I'm on the east side of the board, and I have to move west. I moved north, and I'm going to keep going west because I have nowhere else to go. So that's their turn. They can now choose one of the 3 actions that are available to take. So the first action that they can choose from is sprint. You get to move 1 additional space. So you can feel, search before you take your sprint. Let's say this player does that, so he's going to sprint. But you cannot search after. You have to wait until your next turn to be able to search again. The other action that they can take is hide. So if you hide, you flip your piece upside down, and you cannot be attacked when you're hidden. The caveat is that you may not speak until the beginning of your next turn. If you speak, and the hunter realizes you're speaking, your character will be flipped over, and the sound token will actually go in your spot. So that means you made a noise, he heard you, and he's going to come for you. So hiding is dangerous. The last thing you can do is throw a rock. So every person starts with 1 rock token, and there's an extra X minus 1 rocks on the board, where X is the amount of players, so there's 1 rock because there's 2 players here. And then the hunter actually gets to place that wherever they want. But you tell the hunter that you want to throw a rock, and you just tell them the direction. So north, east, south, and west. And if you ever forget what direction the board's set up in, the hunter is supposed to remind you. So they would say like, oh, north is towards me, and south is towards the camera type thing. And if you throw your rock, so say this player says, I'm going to throw my rock south. The hunter would take your rock token, put it on the board wherever it goes, and tell you it went south 1, 2, 3, 4. So you know that you have 4 spots straight to the south that you can go to until you hit something. So we're going to go ahead and sprint though, because we want to try and get moving and try and find the car. Alright. Then it goes to the other player's turn. So they'll come over here, they can feel around like this as well, and then they can pick up their character. They say, I'm going to go south. They have no idea where they're at, right? They have no kind of bearings. So they can feel again, search. Alright, so they know they're kind of in some kind of alcove of trees, so they're going to go this way. And after they're done moving, they can feel again, and they can say, uh-oh, I'm on the west side of the board. That's not bad. They're on opposite sides of the board, so they have a chance to kind of spread out and search right away. So this guy will go ahead and sprint as well. Alright, then it's the hunter's turn. This is where things get interesting for the players, because they have no idea what's going on. It gets eerily quiet, and you just hear the hunter kind of across the board. So the hunter has 2 cards to choose from. It tells them the name of the card at the top here, and then it tells them something verbal that they should do. And then if there's a sound token, they take that action. If there's no sound token, then they take that action. So this says, verbal, taunt the player farthest from the car. So that looks like it's going to be the triangle player. So you'd say something like, you'll never find the car, or something like that. Try to be creepy. And then because there's no sound token, I would move 2 spaces, ignoring trees. So that means I can actually go 1, 2, and jump right over the tree like that, because it doesn't matter. And then you discard the card, and then they draw a new one. Now it is the cross player's turn. So they did not get to search at the end of their movement after they sprinted, so they can search before they move this turn. So they can see that they can go north, south, or west. Well, they came from the north, so they're going to try and go west this time. That puts them adjacent to the hunter. So the hunter will say, "Stop, combat is initiated." So the hunter starts by saying, "The hunter is to your west," and that way the hunted knows exactly where they ran into them at, so they know it's not to their north or south, it was to the west of them. And then they take a hit point from the player, which is one of the heart tokens. And then the player has the option to fight back if they like. If the player has a rock token, which everyone starts the game with one, they can choose to throw it at the hunter. So it's always a good idea if you have the option to throw it at the hunter, because if you throw the rock at them, they have to move 2 spaces away from you, and then they actually are wounded for a turn. So you can put that piece on top. It's a big rock piece to remind the hunter, or you can just flip it over. That's what I normally do to remind you of what you can do this turn. So you move the hunter 2 spaces away, and then on your next movement, you can only move 1 instead of 2 or 3 or whatever that you normally move. So the rock token goes on the board where you threw it at the hunter, and that is the fight back part of the combat. The next part is the hunted can flee 1 or 2 spaces, and they can search beforehand. So they're going to go back here because they know it was safe, because the hunter was to their west, and then they're going to try going south. And then they can feel like normal. And then they have the option to hide as well. So they're going to go ahead and go hide and try to stay safe. They cannot talk until the beginning of their next turn, otherwise they flip back up and the noise token goes on them. So now it goes back to the triangle player's turn, so they can just start off by searching again. They can see that they're in the southwest corner of the board because there's nothing to their south or west. And they're going to go ahead and move east. They can search again, go east, search again. You can see that they've gone through some sort of little alcove here, and then they sprinted. That's the end of their turn. So you're going to keep going back and forth like this until either someone gets to the car, or the hunter takes a second hit point from one of the players. Once one player is dead, the game ends immediately. The hunter wins. If the hunters actually make it to the car, though, they get the option to call for help. So when they call for help, they just say, "I want to call for help." And they have to survive through all of their turns again to the end of the player who called for help's turn. After help has been called for, though, hiding is no longer an option. You have to keep moving. So in every turn, the hunter's going to be coming for you, and the hunted have to move 2 steps. So even once you call for help, you still have to keep moving around the board, giving the hunter a chance to catch you one last time before you guys make it to safety. That's pretty much the basics of how to play the game. There's a few other rules, like when you throw a rock, it leaves a noise token, like wherever you threw the rock at, and then the hunter usually has to go towards a noise token, and a little bit more like that. And there's also some role cards that you can assign to people that give them special abilities for the hunted as well. And then there's actually 2 different types of hunters as well. There is the axe murderer, and then the mage as well that come in this base game. So a lot of different options, a lot of different little sub-rules as well that you'll want to read into as you get further into the game. But that's the basics of how to play it. So let's go ahead and head up and see what I thought of Nyctophobia. Okay, so what do I think of Nyctophobia? Well, the components are great. Thick, chunky plastic trees, big, chunky pieces that you're moving around, pawns that you have for your characters, and they all feel different on the top. Like you can tell the triangle apart from the slot, apart from the cross. The only thing is that the trees don't stick in the board that well, so like if someone accidentally flicks a little too hard when they're trying to search around for their piece, it can knock the trees over, and then the hunter's got to fix that. But other than that, the cardboard's normal cardboard. The cards are good. Nothing too crazy there, but they're good quality. The game in general is like nothing I've ever played before. It's really interesting to me. One versus all isn't new, but one versus all, where the one is the moderator and then the all can't see, is very cool to me. Having to feel your way around the board, like just a couple spots at a time, and try to visually make this map in your mind without being able to write anything down or look at anything, right, besides what you feel. It's an interesting concept, and I love it. I've played as the hunted and the hunter. Both are just as fun. I think the did may be a little more exhilarating because once one of you gets hit, it's like, oh my gosh, we got to help this guy out. And then you get hit and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to get away because one more hit and the game ends. You only have 2 hit points. So that's, oh, man, it keeps you on the edge of your seat for sure once the hunter gets close to you. And you never know where he's at. Like, he could be right behind you. He can jump through trees and you can't. So he could literally be anywhere. And it's just gives you a great feeling while being scared. Like going to a haunted house, I guess. So, yeah, so I highly recommend Nyctophobia. It's quickly climbing up my top favorite board games of all time list, not just of the year, but of all time. I really love this. I can't get enough of this game. So I highly recommend you check it out if you get a chance. Yeah, that's all I have for that. So until next time, thanks for watching Down the Vent. Bye.